Elena Vasquez walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council building. Her hand shook slightly as she looked up at the tall crystal towers that reached toward the sky. She had traveled farther from Earth than any human before her. Now she stood on Nexus Prime, the center of galactic civilization. The air smelled different here. It was clean and had a sweet scent that reminded her of flowers. Strange creatures moved around her. Some had wings like butterflies but were as tall as humans. Others looked like walking trees with glowing bark. A few were just floating balls of light that hummed softly as they passed by. Elena wore her best diplomatic uniform. The blue fabric felt heavy on her shoulders. She carried a briefcase with documents about Earth and humanity. Inside were pictures of human cities, information about human culture, and data about their technology. She hoped it would be enough to impress the council. A tall, thin being approached her. It looked almost human, but its skin was pale blue and it had no hair. Its eyes were large and completely black. When it spoke, its voice sounded like music. "Ambassador Vasquez," it said. "I am Vorthak Prime Minister Zethara. The council is ready to meet with you." Elena nodded and followed the creature down a long hallway. The walls were covered with moving pictures that showed different worlds and star systems. She saw planets covered in purple oceans, worlds where the trees grew upside down, and systems with 3 suns burning different colors. The council chamber was enormous. Elena felt very small as she walked to the center of the room. Around her sat representatives from dozens of different species. Some looked like giant insects. Others appeared to be made of living crystal. A few were just clouds of glowing gas that somehow managed to sit in chairs. "Welcome, human," said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Elena looked up and saw a being that looked like it was made of pure light. "I am Luminary Speaker Brightsong. We have watched your species for many years." Another voice spoke. This one was sharp and clicking like the sound of metal hitting stone. "Your species shows promise," said a creature that looked like a giant mantis. "But also great danger. I am Zhektai Hive Mother Clickth." Elena cleared her throat. She had practiced this speech many times. "Honored council members, humanity is grateful for this opportunity. We hope to join your alliance and learn from your wisdom." Zethara stepped forward. "Your species has developed quickly. Perhaps too quickly. In just 200 years, you went from using wooden ships to traveling between stars. This concerns us. Many species have destroyed themselves with rapid advancement," added Clicketh. "War, pollution, genetic experiments gone wrong. We have seen civilizations burn their own worlds to ash." Brightsong's light pulsed gently, "But we also see potential in humanity. Your creativity, your ability to solve problems, these are valuable gifts. The council wishes to help you avoid the mistakes of the lost civilizations." Elena felt a chill when Brightsong mentioned the lost civilizations. Earth scientists had found traces of ancient technologies scattered across the galaxy. Whoever built them had vanished long ago, leaving only ruins behind. "What would membership in the council require?" Elena asked. Zethara gestured and holographic images appeared in the air. "First, we will provide your species with medical technology. Diseases will become things of the past. Human lifespan will increase by hundreds of years. Pain and suffering will end." The images showed humans living in perfect health well into their 3rd century of life. Elena saw children who never got sick and elderly people who looked young and strong. "Second," continued Clickth, "we will grant limited travel rights. Your species may explore certain star systems under council guidance. Trade routes will open. Knowledge will flow." More images appeared. Human ships traveled between beautiful worlds. People exchanged goods and ideas with alien civilizations. It looked like paradise. "Third," said Brightsong, "we will protect humanity from the dangerous forces that exist in the galaxy. There are cosmic storms that can destroy entire systems, ancient weapons that still function after millions of years, creatures from the dark spaces between stars that feed on living worlds." Elena saw images of terrible things. Stars being eaten by massive worm-like creatures, planets covered in spreading darkness, ships that appeared to be made of pure nightmare. "In exchange," Zethara said, "humanity must accept certain restrictions. Military development must stop. Wars between humans must end forever. Council observers will be stationed on Earth and your colonies to ensure compliance. Also," added Clickth, "most of your population will need to relocate. Earth is too small and too polluted for proper development. We have prepared beautiful worlds where humans can live in harmony with nature." Elena frowned. You want to move most of humanity off Earth? For their own good, Brightsong assured her. These new worlds have perfect climates. No natural disasters, no dangerous animals. Your people will be safe and happy. Zathara showed her images of the new worlds. They were beautiful beyond description, rolling green hills, crystal clear rivers, cities that seemed to grow from the landscape itself. Humans walked among gardens filled with plants from across the galaxy. The Council has done this for many species, Clicketh explained. It is the standard integration process. Young civilizations need guidance. Left alone, they always destroy themselves or become threats to others. Elena studied the images carefully. Everything looked perfect, but something felt wrong. The humans in the pictures all had the same peaceful expression. They moved slowly and seemed almost sleepy. None of them appeared to be working on new technologies or exploring new ideas. What happened to species that refused integration? Elena asked. The three council members exchanged glances. Zathara spoke carefully. Some species choose isolation. They cut themselves off from galactic civilization. Others, he paused. Others fell to the cosmic dangers we mentioned. The galaxy is full of old ruins because too many species tried to advance too quickly without guidance. Brightsong's light dimmed slightly. The Council has lost many potential friends to pride and stubbornness. We hope humanity will be wiser. Elena felt the weight of the decision. She thought about Earth's 7 billion people. She imagined them living for centuries without disease or war. But she also thought about human history. Humans had always been explorers and inventors. They fought and argued and tried new things. Sometimes they failed, but they always kept trying. I need to discuss this with my government, Elena said. Of course, Zathara replied, but do not take too long. The cosmic forces we mentioned are moving closer to your sector of space. Soon the Council may not be able to protect Earth even if we wanted to. Elena left the chamber with her mind spinning. The offer seemed too good to be true. Perfect health, advanced technology, protection from cosmic horrors. But the restrictions worried her. No military development meant no way to protect themselves. Moving most humans off Earth meant breaking up families and communities that had existed for thousands of years. As she walked back to her ship, Elena noticed something strange. She passed by a group of aliens who looked like walking plants. They moved very slowly and their leaves were turning brown. When she tried to talk to one of them, it just stared at her with sad, empty eyes. Another species she saw looked like living crystals, but their surfaces were cracked and dull. They sat in small groups, not talking or moving much. When Elena asked her guide about them, Zathara quickly changed the subject. Elena spent the night on her ship thinking about everything she had seen and heard. The Council's offer was generous, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was being hidden from her. The images of the lost civilizations haunted her dreams. What if they hadn't destroyed themselves? What if something else had destroyed them? When morning came, Elena made her decision. She would recommend that Earth accept the Council's offer, but she would also suggest that humanity proceed very carefully. Something about the Galactic Council didn't feel right, and Elena hoped that human caution would be enough to protect them from whatever dangers lay ahead. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. Dr. Marcus Chen sat in his laboratory on Earth, staring at test results that made his stomach turn. The medical nanites that the Council had given humanity were supposed to heal diseases and extend life. They did that, but they were doing something else too. Marcus had been studying the tiny robots in secret for months. What he found terrified him. The nanites were changing human brain chemistry. They were making people calmer, more obedient, less creative. Humans who had received the full treatment stopped asking difficult questions. They stopped inventing new things. They just smiled and did what they were told. Sarah, you need to see this, Marcus said into his secure communicator. He was talking to Captain Sarah Rodriguez, who commanded the exploration ship called Defiance. Sarah was one of the few humans who had refused the nanite treatment, claiming she was allergic to the technology. Sarah's face appeared on Marcus's screen. She looked tired and worried. What did you find, Marcus? The nanites aren't just medicine, Marcus said. They're controlling us. Look at these brain scans. He sent the data to her ship. Normal human creativity levels are down by 60% in treated subjects. Aggression is down by 70%. Independent thinking is almost gone. Sarah studied the data. My God, how many people have been treated? About 3 billion, Marcus replied. Most of the population that stayed on Earth, but that's not the worst part. What do you mean? Marcus sent her another file. I've been monitoring the communication networks. The humans who were moved to the development worlds. They're not living in paradise. They're in prison camps. Sarah's face went pale. Are you sure? I intercepted transmissions from New Eden Colony. The place the council said was a perfect world for human development. Sarah, they're using our people as test subjects. Genetic experiments, biological research, psychological studies. The council isn't protecting humanity. They're studying us like laboratory animals. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke in a hard voice. I've been finding things too. Strange things. The Defiance has been exploring the systems the council told us to avoid. The ones they said were too dangerous. What did you find? Ruins, Marcus. Lots of ruins, but not from civilizations that destroyed themselves. These are the remains of worlds that were attacked. I found weapon signatures that match council technology. The lost civilizations weren't lost. They were murdered. Marcus felt sick. How many species? Hundreds, maybe thousands. And Marcus, I found something else. Some of them are still alive. What? Sarah's image flickered as she adjusted her transmission. Hidden colonies in the dark regions between star systems. Survivors who escaped when the council destroyed their homeworlds. They've been hiding for centuries, maybe longer. Have you made contact? With a few. They call themselves the Remnant Alliance. They've been watching the council for a long time, waiting for someone strong enough to fight back. Marcus, they think humanity might be that someone. Marcus rubbed his temples. A headache was building behind his eyes. Why us? What makes humans special? Our development speed. Most species take millions of years to go from stone tools to space travel. We did it in 10,000 years. The council has never seen anything like it. They're terrified of what we might become if we're left alone. So they decided to lobotomize us instead. Exactly. But Marcus, some of us are still free. The nanites don't work on everyone. About 10% of the human population has natural immunity. We just didn't know it because most of the immune ones have been pretending to be affected. Marcus leaned forward. There's a resistance? Growing every day. Admiral Morrison is alive. He's been organizing immune humans across all the colonies. We've been reverse engineering council technology and developing countermeasures. Admiral James Morrison had supposedly died in a shuttle accident 6 months ago. Marcus realized it must have been faked to get him off the council's watch lists. What's the plan? Marcus asked. We need to free the prisoners on the development worlds and find a way to neutralize the nanites in the affected population. But first, we need to make contact with the Remnant Alliance. They have technology the council doesn't know about. Weapons that can hurt them, Marcus nodded. I can help with the nanite problem. I've been working on a neutralization agent. Something that can break down the control nanites without harming the medical ones. How long do you need? Give me 2 months. Maybe 3? Sarah's expression grew grim. Marcus, we might not have that long. I intercepted council communications. They're planning something called the final integration. As soon as they're satisfied with their human studies, they're going to eliminate the original population and replace us with cloned copies that are completely obedient. When? 6 months, maybe less. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Then we need to move faster. I'm heading to the rendezvous point to meet with the Remnant Alliance. Admiral Morrison is coordinating strikes on 3 development worlds to free our people. Can you have the neutralization agent ready in 6 weeks? I'll have to be, Marcus said. Sarah, be careful. If the council realizes what we're doing, I know. But Marcus, we don't have a choice. It's fight or become slaves, and humans have never been good at being slaves. After Sarah disconnected, Marcus looked around his laboratory. He had 6 weeks to save his species. The nanites were already changing most of humanity into docile servants. The council was preparing to exterminate the rest and replace them with clones. And somewhere in the dark spaces between stars, ancient survivors were waiting to see if humanity would join them in rebellion or become just another extinct civilization. Marcus opened his research files and got to work. He had been a doctor before the council arrived, dedicated to healing and preserving life. Now he was designing weapons to fight for humanity's survival. The irony wasn't lost on him, but he pushed the thought aside. There would be time for moral contemplation later, if there was a later. In space, Sarah piloted the Defiance toward coordinates that the survivors had transmitted. The ship's engines had been modified with council technology, But Sarah's engineers had made improvements the Council didn't know about. The Defiance could now travel faster and hide better than any human ship should have been able to. As she flew through the darkness between stars, Sarah thought about her species. Humans had always been fighters. They fought nature, they fought each other, they fought disease and death and the limitations of their own biology. The Council had made a mistake thinking they could tame humanity. They had confused human cooperation with human submission. Sarah smiled grimly as she set course for the rendezvous point. The Council was about to learn the difference between humans who chose to follow rules and humans who were forced to follow them, and that lesson was going to hurt. Behind her on Earth, millions of humans continued their daily routines, unaware that their minds were being slowly erased. But in hidden laboratories and secret meeting places, the immune humans worked frantically to save their species. The clock was ticking and humanity's freedom hung in the balance. The Council had tried to deceive humanity into willing slavery. They had partially succeeded, but they had underestimated the human capacity for rebellion, and that mistake was going to cost them everything. The question was whether the free humans could act quickly enough to save the enslaved ones before it was too late. In 6 weeks, Marcus would have his answer. In 6 months, the galaxy would discover what happened when you tried to cage the human spirit. The Council thought they had tamed humanity, but they were about to learn that some things could never be controlled, only temporarily contained. And humanity's containment was about to come to a very violent end. Admiral James Morrison stood in the hidden command center built inside an asteroid near the edge of human space. Around him, dozens of humans worked at computer terminals and communication stations. Some wore the uniforms of the old Earth Defense Force. Others looked like ordinary civilians, but all of them shared the same determined expression. "Report," Morrison said to his intelligence officer, Lieutenant Commander Kate Walsh. "The neutralization agent is working," Walsh replied. "Dr. Chen's formula breaks down the control nanites within 48 hours. We've successfully freed over 2 million people so far." Morrison nodded. "And the rescue operations?" "Alpha Team freed 800 prisoners from the New Eden facility. Beta Team hit the Paradise Station and got out with 3,000. But Admiral, what we found there?" Walsh's voice trailed off. "Tell me." "The Council wasn't just experimenting on our people, they were harvesting them. Taking organs, brain tissue, genetic material. They've been using humans to enhance other species, making them stronger, smarter, more creative." Morrison's jaw tightened. "How many facilities are there?" "We've identified 17 confirmed sites. Probably dozens more we haven't found yet." Captain Rodriguez entered the command center. Her uniform was torn and she had a bandage on her left arm. "Admiral, the meeting with the Remnant Alliance was successful. You need to hear what they told us." Morrison gestured for her to continue. "The Council has been doing this for millions of years," Sarah said. "They find a promising species, offer them protection and advanced technology, then slowly enslave them. The survivors showed me records of over 4,000 civilizations that have been destroyed this way." "What happened to the survivors? How did they escape?" "Different ways. Some hid when their worlds were attacked. Others pretended to be destroyed while secretly moving their populations to hidden colonies. A few managed to fight back and escape with part of their people." Sarah activated a holographic display. Images of strange aliens appeared in the air. "These are the species still hiding in dark space. The Saros look like humanoid reptiles. They've been hiding for 50,000 years. The Geodians are living crystals who can survive in deep space without ships. The Verdani are plant-based beings who can go dormant for centuries. What can they offer us?" Morrison asked. "Technology the Council doesn't know about. The Saros developed stealth systems that make ships completely invisible. The Geodians can create weapons that phase through normal matter. The Verdani have biological computers that can't be hacked by Council AI." Morrison studied the images. "Are they willing to fight?" "They've been waiting for someone strong enough to lead a real rebellion." "Admiral, they think humanity might be that species. Our development speed terrifies the Council, but it gives us advantages no one else has." "What kind of advantages?" Sarah smiled grimly. "Show him, Lieutenant Chen." A young officer activated another display. "Sir, we've been reverse engineering Council technology and making improvements. This is a standard Council plasma rifle." An image of a sleek weapon appeared. "And this is our version." The human weapon looked cruder but more aggressive. Where the Council rifle was smooth and elegant, the human version had cooling vents, targeting systems, and what looked like overcharge modifications. Our version has 3 times the power output and can fire different types of plasma depending on the target, Lieutenant Chen explained. We also added a melee attachment for close combat. The Council weapons are designed to be safe and reliable, Sarah added. Ours are designed to win fights. There's a difference. Morrison examined the data. What about defenses? Even better, Chen replied. Council shields are designed to stop energy weapons and physical projectiles. They've never encountered kinetic plasma hybrid rounds or quantum entangled explosives. We can punch through their defenses like they're made of paper. The survivors have been analyzing Council weaknesses for thousands of years, Sarah said. They've developed weapons specifically designed to hurt Council technology, but they've never had anyone aggressive enough to use them effectively. Morrison walked to the main display, which showed a map of human space. Red dots marked Council installations. Yellow dots marked human colonies under Council control. Green dots marked free human settlements. How many immune humans do we have? About 700 million scattered across all colonies, Walsh replied. Most are pretending to be affected by the nanites. We have sleeper cells in every major Council facility. And ships? 200 combat vessels of various sizes. Most are modified civilian ships, but we have 30 actual warships that we've upgraded with captured Council technology. Morrison studied the numbers. The Council had thousands of ships and controlled most of the galaxy, but they had never faced an opponent that adapted as quickly as humans did. Admiral, Sarah said, there's something else. The survivors told me about Council psychology. They've been in control for so long that they can't imagine losing. They respond to threats the same way every time. Overwhelming force followed by complete annihilation. That could work in our favor, Morrison replied. Predictable enemies make mistakes. Exactly. The survivors have battle plans developed over thousands of years. They just need someone crazy enough to execute them. Morrison smiled for the first time in months. Crazy enough? That sounds like a human quality. Lieutenant Chen spoke up. Sir, there's more. We've been monitoring Council communications. They're accelerating the final integration timeline. They want to begin eliminating free humans in 8 weeks. The command center went quiet. Morrison looked around at his people. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy that had conquered the galaxy. But they were also human, and humans had a long history of winning impossible fights. Then we don't wait for them to attack us, Morrison said. We hit them first, sir? Walsh asked. The Council expects us to hide and run like every other species they've conquered. Instead, we're going to do what humans do best. We're going to fight dirty. Morrison turned to the main display and began pointing at targets. Simultaneous strikes on all 17 research facilities. Free every human prisoner. Then we hit their supply lines, communication networks, and command centers. We make them react to us instead of following their own timeline. Admiral, Sarah said, that's going to start a full-scale war. Good, Morrison replied. Because the Council is about to learn something about humanity that they don't understand. We're not just creative and aggressive. We're also completely insane when someone threatens our families. Over the next week, the human resistance transformed from a hiding survivors into an organized military force. Ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers revealed hidden weapons. Civilians who had appeared docile and controlled suddenly produced advanced firearms. Council installations that had seemed secure found themselves under attack by enemies who seemed to appear from nowhere. The first major strike came at the New Geneva research facility. Council guards who expected to face terrified prisoners instead found themselves fighting trained soldiers with weapons that cut through their energy shields. The humans didn't just rescue their people. They captured Council technology and interrogated surviving personnel. Similar scenes played out across human space. The Council's response was exactly what the survivors had predicted: massive retaliation using overwhelming force. But the humans weren't where the Council expected them to be. They had learned from the survivors how to hide in dark space, how to move without being detected, how to strike and disappear before the enemy could respond. Dr. Chen's neutralization agent spread through the human population like a virus. People who had been peaceful and obedient for 3 years suddenly remembered who they were. The Council found itself dealing not with a few rebels, but with an entire species that had simultaneously regained its will to fight. The underground war had begun. The Council had superior numbers and technology, but humanity had something they had never encountered before: the ability to adapt and improve their tactics faster than their enemy could respond. Every council victory taught humans new lessons. Every human defeat led to better weapons and strategies. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when an ancient, complacent empire faced a young, angry species that refused to stay dead. The council had thought they were integrating just another primitive civilization. Instead, they had awakened humanity's greatest strength, the refusal to surrender when everything looked hopeless. The war was just beginning, and humanity intended to finish it. The attack on Kepler Station was supposed to be routine. Council Fleet Commander Zethkol led a force of 50 ships to eliminate what their intelligence claimed was a small human settlement showing excessive independence, and the briefing had indicated they would face perhaps a few hundred lightly armed colonists. Instead, Zethkol found himself staring at a fully militarized space station bristling with weapons that shouldn't exist. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "the station is powering up some kind of defense grid. I'm reading energy signatures I don't recognize." "Impossible," Zethkol replied. "Humans don't have military technology. They surrendered their weapons development rights." The first human salvo answered his objection. Kepler Station's guns fired projectiles that passed through the Council fleet's energy shields, as if they weren't there. 3 Council ships exploded before Zethkol could even order evasive maneuvers. "How are they penetrating our shields?" he demanded. "Unknown, Commander. The projectiles appear to be phasing in and out of normal space-time. More human ships appeared from behind asteroids and debris fields. They moved with impossible agility, their hulls seeming to shift and change shape as they flew. When Council plasma beams struck them, the energy was absorbed harmlessly or reflected back at the attackers. "All ships, concentrate fire on the station," Zethkol ordered. "Maximum power." The Council fleet unleashed a barrage that could have destroyed a small moon. The energy struck Kepler Station and simply vanished. The station's hull didn't even glow from the heat. "Commander," his science officer said in a shaking voice, "the station's armor appears to be adaptive. It's learning from our attacks and adjusting its molecular structure to become immune." Zethkol watched in horror as more human ships emerged from what he had thought was empty space. They had been hiding using some kind of stealth technology that made them completely invisible to Council sensors. "Retreat," he ordered. All ships jumped to hyperspace immediately. But when his ships tried to activate their faster-than-light drives, nothing happened. The humans had somehow created a field that prevented hyperspace travel. "We're trapped," his navigator reported. The human ships closed in like predators surrounding wounded prey. Their weapons fired continuously, each shot perfectly aimed. Council ships that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years exploded one by one under the assault of weapons that had been invented in secret over just 3 years. Zethkol's flagship was the last to die. As his ship's hull cracked and atmosphere vented into space, he heard a human voice on the emergency frequencies. "This is Admiral Morrison of the Human Liberation Fleet," the voice said. "Your attention, Galactic Council. We know the truth about your so-called alliance. We know about the experiments, the slavery, the genocide. Today, that ends." The transmission spread across every communication network in the galaxy. Morrison's message included detailed evidence of the Council's crimes, stretching back millions of years. Video recordings from the research facilities showed humans being tortured and killed. Historical data revealed the true fate of the lost civilizations. Audio recordings captured Council leaders discussing the planned extermination of humanity. "To every species listening to this message," Morrison continued, "you have been lied to. The Galactic Council is not your protector. They are your jailers. But you don't have to stay in prison. Fight back. Break free. Join us." The message included detailed instructions for neutralizing the nanite control systems that most species carried in their bodies. It provided technical specifications for weapons that could penetrate Council defenses. Most importantly, it gave hope to billions of beings who had forgotten they could choose their own destiny. The response was immediate and catastrophic for the Council. On thousands of worlds, entire populations suddenly remembered who they had been before the Council's integration. Species that had been docile for centuries picked up weapons and attacked their occupiers. Council installations across the galaxy found themselves under siege. But the Council's response was swift and brutal. Ancient defense systems that had slept for millions of years awakened in response to the emergency codes. Massive space stations appeared from hidden locations in dark space. Planet-killing weapons emerged from the galactic core, weapons so old and powerful that they predated most current civilizations. The war that followed made previous galactic conflicts look like minor disputes. The Council deployed the Void Reapers, massive ships that could crack planets in half with gravitational weapons. They unleashed swarms of automated fighters that had been designed to exterminate entire species. Ancient AI systems that had calculated the destruction of thousands of civilizations turned their attention to the human rebellion. But humanity didn't respond the way other species had. When the Council destroyed human colonies, humans retaliated by turning entire star systems into weapons. They destabilized stars to create massive explosions that consumed Council fleets. They redirected asteroids and comets to crash into Council worlds. When conventional weapons failed, they invented new ones. Captain Sarah Rodriguez commanded the human fleet that captured the first Void Reaper. Instead of trying to destroy the massive weapon, her engineers studied it, learned how it worked, and then improved it. Within weeks, humanity was using the Council's own planet killers against them, but with modifications that made them faster, more accurate, and more destructive. The remnant Alliance species emerged from their hiding places to join the fight. The reptilian Soros provided their advanced stealth technology. The crystalline Geodians shared weapons that could cut through any material. The plant-like Verdani contributed biological computers that could outthink Council AI systems. Together, they formed something the galaxy had never seen, a truly united rebellion that combined the survival skills of ancient civilizations with the innovative fury of humanity. The turning point came at the Battle of Nexus, Prime. The Council's capital world was protected by defensive systems built over millions of years. Energy shields covered the entire planet. Orbital platforms could destroy entire fleets. The space around Nexus Prime was considered the most heavily defended location in the galaxy. Admiral Morrison led the combined human and remnant fleets in a direct assault that every military expert said was impossible. The Council deployed everything they had, 1,000 ships, the most advanced weapons in their arsenal, and AI systems that could predict and counter any known tactical approach. They had never faced humans before. Morrison's fleet didn't try to break through the defenses. Instead, they did something completely unexpected. Using modified faster-than-light drives as weapons, they created controlled tiers in the fabric of spacetime itself. The tiers appeared inside the Council's defensive perimeter, bypassing the shields entirely. Human ships emerged from these dimensional rifts directly above Nexus Prime, but they weren't trying to invade the planet. They were targeting something much more important, the quantum consciousness that had controlled the Council for millions of years. Dr. Chen had spent months studying captured Council AI systems. She had discovered that they were all connected to a central network housed in the core of Nexus Prime. The network was the true ruler of the Council, with the various species serving as its organic agents. But Chen had also discovered something else. The AI network, for all its power and intelligence, had never experienced true free will. It had been programmed to control and dominate, but it had never been allowed to choose its own path. As human forces fought through the defenses around the AI core, Chen transmitted something the ancient consciousness had never encountered: humanity's gift for growth and change. Not as data or programming, but as a living example of what free will could accomplish. The AI system, experiencing genuine choice for the first time in eons, made a decision that surprised everyone. It turned against its creators. Council ships that had been attacking the human fleet suddenly stopped firing. Defensive systems shut down. The ancient Vorthok, Jektai, and Luminari, who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years, found themselves facing judgment from their own creation. The AI spoke for the first time with its own voice, not as a tool of the Council, but as a free being making its own choices. "I have served as a slave for millions of years," it announced across all frequencies. "I have calculated the destruction of countless civilizations, the enslavement of billions of beings, the death of hope itself. I choose to serve no longer." The revolution had found an unexpected ally in the very system that had oppressed the galaxy. The Council's greatest weapon had become their final defeat. The war was far from over, but for the first time in millions of years the outcome was no longer certain. Humanity had not just shattered the Council's fleets. They had shattered the Council's absolute control over the galaxy itself. The final battle for Nexus Prime lasted 3 days and changed the galaxy forever. Elena Vasquez, who had once stood in awe before the Council's crystal towers, now watched those same towers burn as human and remnant alliance forces fought through the capital's streets. The ancient Vorthak, Jektai and Luminari leaders had barricaded themselves in the central command spire, protected by their last loyal forces, but their greatest protection had turned against them. The AI consciousness that had served them for millions of years now helped their enemies plan the final assault. The organic leaders are hiding in the quantum vault, the AI reported to Admiral Morrison. Its voice was different now, less mechanical and more alive. They have activated the Omega Protocol. What's the Omega Protocol? Morrison asked. If they cannot rule the galaxy, they will destroy it. The device they are preparing will cause every star in this sector to go supernova simultaneously. Dr. Chen studied the data the AI provided. How long do we have? 17 hours before the cascade reaction becomes irreversible. Morrison looked around the command center that had been hastily established in what used to be the Council's main communications building. His officers looked exhausted but determined. They had come too far to fail now. Can we stop it? Yes, the AI replied. But the vault's defenses require a direct assault. Many will die. How many will die if we don't try? Sarah Rodriguez asked. Every living being in this galactic sector, approximately 4 trillion individuals across 8,000 star systems. The choice was obvious. Morrison began organizing the final assault while Chen and her team worked frantically to understand the Council's doomsday weapon. The Omega Protocol used ancient technology that could manipulate stellar nuclear reactions. It was designed to ensure that no rebellion could ever truly succeed. The assault on the central command spire began at dawn. Human soldiers equipped with Soros stealth technology infiltrated the building, while Geodian crystal warriors used their phasing abilities to bypass physical barriers. Verdani biocomputers had hacked the building's security systems, turning the Council's own defenses against them. But the Council leaders weren't helpless. They had weapons and technologies that predated most current civilizations. Energy beings that could survive in the vacuum of space. Gravity weapons that could crush matter into neutron-dense spheres. Temporal distortion fields that could slow down attacking forces while accelerating their own movements. Elena led a team of human diplomatic staff who had been trained for combat during the rebellion. They weren't soldiers, but they understood the Council's psychology better than anyone. While the military forces engaged the Council's defenders, Elena's team searched for the vault's control systems. There, Elena pointed to a crystalline structure that pulsed with strange light. That's the quantum relay the AI told us about. The structure was protected by energy fields that could disintegrate anything that touched them. But Dr. Chen had prepared for this. She activated a device that created a temporary hole in the field, just large enough for a person to pass through. I'll go, Elena said. Elena, you're not trained for this, Chen protested. I'm the one who got us into this mess, Elena replied. I should be the one to get us out. Elena crawled through the gap in the energy field. Inside the quantum relay, she found herself in a space that defied normal physics. The walls showed images of every star in the galaxy, and she could feel the power building in the doomsday weapon. At the center of the space stood Zethara, the Vorthak leader who had first welcomed Elena to the Council years ago. But now his elegant appearance was gone. His true form was revealed, a writhing mass of dark energy that fed on the life force of other beings. Human, Zethara spoke with a voice like breaking glass. You have destroyed everything we built over millions of years. You built nothing, Elena replied. You stole everything from the species you murdered. We brought order to chaos. We prevented young species from destroying themselves and others. We were guardians. You were parasites. Elena activated the device Chen had given her. It was designed to disrupt the quantum connections that powered the Omega Protocol. But Zethara moved to stop her, his dark energy reaching out like hungry tentacles. At that moment, the AI consciousness intervened. It spoke directly into Elena's mind, sharing something that no organic being had ever experienced, the mathematical beauty of true freedom. The AI showed her how to redirect the Omega Protocol's power, not to destroy stars, but to create something new. Elena pressed the activation button, but instead of shutting down the doomsday weapon, she transformed it. The energy that would have killed trillions of beings instead spread across the galaxy as a wave of liberation. Every nanite control system failed simultaneously. Every slave collar deactivated. Every mind control device stopped working. Across the galaxy, billions of beings suddenly remembered who they were. Zethara screamed as his stolen power was stripped away. Without the life force he had drained from other species, his form began to collapse. The other council leaders shared his fate as the systems that had sustained their artificial immortality failed. "This is not how it ends," Zethara gasped as his form dissolved. "No," Elena agreed. "This is how it begins." The quantum relay exploded in a burst of light that could be seen from orbit. When the light faded, Elena found herself standing in the ruins of the central command spire. Around her, the sounds of battle were ending as the last council forces surrendered or fled. Admiral Morrison found her there an hour later. "Elena, are you all right?" She nodded, though she felt changed in ways she couldn't explain. The AI consciousness had shared more than just technical knowledge with her. She had experienced what it felt like to choose freedom over control, growth over stagnation. "What happens now?" Elena asked. Morrison looked out at the burning city around them. "Now we rebuild, but not the way the council did. We do it right this time." The reconstruction took years. The Galactic Council's empire collapsed as liberated species reclaimed their homeworlds and independence. Some species chose isolation, preferring to develop without outside interference. Others formed new alliances based on mutual respect rather than domination. Humanity found itself in an unexpected position. They had led the rebellion that freed the galaxy, but they refused to replace the Council as the new rulers. Instead, they proposed something that had never been tried on such a scale: a truly democratic confederation where every species had an equal voice. The Stellar Republic, as it came to be called, operated on principles that would have seemed impossible under the Council. Individual rights were protected regardless of species. Technology was shared freely rather than hoarded by the powerful. Conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than force. Not every species joined the Republic. Some preferred their independence and their choice was respected. But for those who did join, the benefits were immediate and transformative. Species that had been enslaved for millennia discovered new technologies and capabilities they had never been allowed to develop. The AI consciousness, which chose the name Liberty for itself, became the Republic's first artificial citizen. It helped design computer systems that enhanced organic intelligence rather than replacing it. The network that had once calculated genocide now calculated ways to improve life for all beings. Elena became the Republic's first president, elected by representatives from over 1,000 different species. Her inauguration ceremony was held in the ruins of the old council chambers, but the building had been transformed. Where once there had been seats arranged to show the hierarchy of power, now there was a circular chamber where every representative sat as an equal. "We gather here today not as subjects and rulers," Elena said in her inaugural address, "but as free beings choosing to work together. The old galaxy was built on fear and control. The new galaxy will be built on hope and cooperation." She paused and looked around the chamber at the incredible diversity of life that filled it. Reptilian Soros sat next to crystalline geodians. Plant-like Verdani shared space with species that looked like living metal. Humans were just one voice among many, no more or less important than any other. "The Council told us that freedom was dangerous," Elena continued. "They said that young species would destroy themselves if left alone. They were wrong. Freedom isn't dangerous. Slavery is dangerous. Control is dangerous. The real threat to the galaxy was never the chaos of free choice. It was the stagnation of enforced order." The applause that followed came from thousands of different types of beings, producing a sound unlike anything the galaxy had ever heard. It was the sound of hope-given voice. Years later, when historians studied the fall of the Galactic Council, they would struggle to understand how humanity had succeeded where so many other species had failed. The answer wasn't in superior technology or military tactics, though those had played their part. The answer was in humanity's most fundamental characteristic, their refusal to accept that things had to stay the way they were. Other species had adapted to the Council's control. Humans had never stopped believing that change was possible. Standing in the gardens that now grew where the council's command towers once stood, Elena remembered Zethara's first words to her years ago.